What is going on, Diesel Nation? We're excited to have you guys with us today on the Diesel Podcast. Today's episode comes directly from you guys. We had a listener message in and tell us about his 6.4 Powerstroke that he bought for a great price. He was looking to build it into something that, he could race, run ODSS, but then also be able to, take it to, trips around town and things like that. So kind of a dual truck. And he's got a really cool story about putting it together during the pandemic, which it's been really hard, to be able to do that with supply chain issues and just timing and lead times, all that stuff. So I'm really looking forward to chat with him today. Before we get to it though, if you guys want to see these trucks, you want to see our guests, make sure and go to our YouTube channel. Just search the Diesel Podcast. You're going to see all of our episodes there. It's really cool when I'm chatting with a guest to be able to see the truck right behind them, or, some of them will pick up their camera and show us the engine or, different parts of the truck that they're chatting about. So if you want a visual aspect to the podcast, make sure that you go and subscribe on YouTube. If you find us on YouTube, you're not subscribed, make sure you hit the subscribe button, turn on the notifications. So whenever that we release a new episode, you're notified right away, and you can be one of the first to hear what we're going to be chatting about on that particular episode. I want to give a shout out to one of our sponsors as well. Fluid Dampener is a new one that we have for 2022. I did a podcast years ago with them, and I look forward to doing another one here shortly. But if you're looking to unleash horsepower and torque in your diesel truck, it's a fantastic product that really protects your investment. That's the biggest thing that I remember from our episode years ago, and also in chatting with racers and you guys building your trucks out there, is it's something that self-tunes to the harmonics of the engine, whether you're at low RPM, mid, high, regardless of whether it's a stock truck or a full-on race truck. We're going to be chatting with them soon, so make sure if there's any questions you have about a build you have upcoming, you want me to ask them, you can comment on YouTube, send us an Instagram message, Facebook, jump onto our Discord, which you're going to see a link or a code on the screen and a link down below for that. And let us know what we should ask them. I look forward to chatting with them here shortly. If you have questions for them now, make sure and go to www.fluidampener.com, or you can email them at support@fluidampener.com as well. They look forward to answering your questions and love chatting with you guys, so you get the help that you need. All right, let's get to today's episode with John and chatting about his 6.4 Powerstroke build. John, welcome to the Diesel Podcast. I'm excited to chat with you today. I always like talking about 6.4s. I've made it known on the podcast for a long time that that body style is one of my favorites. And you had messaged into us, and you have a really cool story and a build that I want to know more about. So I'm glad that you're able to chat with us today. And people, we get listeners all the time say, hey, do a 6.4 episode. So here we are with one you've built up. It's going to be exciting to hear about.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about the truck. From the beginning, where did the idea come from that you wanted to get an 08 to 10 6.4? What kind of body style were you looking for, and what goal were you going to build it towards?
Well, I ever since this body style came out, I've always loved the way it looked, and I just always liked the body style of this truck, and I always was scared of it because all the negative things going on, at the time when everything was new. So I got in, I had, I've had trucks, 6.0, 7.3, 5.9 Cummins. I even had a Super Duty with a P-Pump 12 valve in it. I've been into this for a while, and before this truck, I had a 6.7 with, basic turbo and pump and stuff like that for a street truck. And I kept getting gapped by 6.4s. And for some reason, I just started looking into it. I'm like, man, what's going on with these trucks? Are so fast. And I just started doing some more research on it myself. And my first goal was to buy a regular cab, long bed, 4-wheel drive 6.7 to put all my parts in that truck and lighten it up and do all that. But those trucks are up back then. They were $28,000, $32,000 between that range, and to put another 25 grand into it, it adds up. Yeah. So I figured out, let me just find a truck that already needs some motor work. So I found this truck with a locked up motor for $3,000, and so it was in Orlando, about 4 miles away, and I met up with the guy and got it for $3,000 and brought it home, and started doing some more research on them. And I didn't think the bottom end was so strong on these trucks factory. and it was just the valve train and the piston issues, stuff like that I started learning about. So that's where it all started.
It's really interesting when we think of the evolution of, from the 6.0 to the 6.4, and when it came out, it was common rail, injection and the K13 pump. And I remember the excitement at that time, like, hey, you can really tune these to, make some good power. And then as time went on a bit, it's like the perception of them changed, and people would say, oh, you don't want a 6.4, get anything but a 6.4. You get a 7.3, a 6 liter, whatever it is, you don't want it. But the fact is that they're a tremendous platform to make power with if you build it right and you're building it towards a specific goal. Now, tell us some of the kind of inside things with, when you bought the 6.4 that, you thought, hey, I want to do this for air, this for fuel. This is how I'm going to build the motor and give myself the best, possible chance at hitting the power number or the quarter mile times or eighth mile times that you wanted to hit.
Right. So when I purchased this truck, the very next purchase I had was Corilla rods. I already knew I was going to put rods in it. So I was like, doing rods from the get-go. I'm going to build it from the bottom up. So that was my plan. My goal was to run a 670 in this truck, in the ODSS series, and maybe 590, and maybe still try to keep it as a street truck also. So that's where that idea started from. I just want to do it right from the beginning. Everyone that's into these trucks, it snowballs. So it's like, okay, I'll start with a 366, and then I'll go to a bigger pump, then a bigger turbo. And then after a while, you buy the same thing 3-4 times. And I just want to do it one time. So I wrote down my whole plan. I want to do big fuel and a big single. That was my choice. So everything I needed for that, I just started kind of just doing research and reading up on everybody else's awesome builds. They were doing some good numbers and good combinations, and try to make the best combination I could for myself. I'm doing it by myself here.
That's what I was going to ask you next, is when you're doing the work on the truck, what kind of companies or friends or people helped you, put this together, with, were there parts of it where you definitely had to reach out to somebody and say, hey, I need this done, or I don't know how to set up this, or, how was that whole process of putting it together with, maybe help from other people or other companies?
Honestly, I didn't have any help from any company. The person that really helped me was my wife. She's small and she has small fingers and hands, so she could do the manifold bolts and stuff like that, but I had a lift. I bought this lift back here for $900 used, and I put it in, and that's how I got the body off. I took it down to the frame. My first goal was to completely have a dedicated race truck, fiberglass bedsides, lightened up 100% as much as I could. But then after a little bit, I was like, oh, it's a nice setup. It's a nice body. So I like to keep it steel, full bed and full frame, everything on the cab steel. So I just left the cab and the bed how it was. I took the cab off myself. I was watching YouTube videos how to do it, honestly. And the first time I did it, it took me about an hour and 40 minutes to pull the cab. It wasn't bad at all. But so basically just trying to just read up on it and, just observe as much as I can. I've never even worked on a 6.4 before, honestly. And I just started taking things apart and just kind of just laying them out nice on a couple tables and shelves, and just went from there.
It's really cool because a lot of enthusiasts that I chat with, they have a lot of things in common, but one of them definitely is they're independent, want to do it themselves, want to learn. And I think that's kind of what pulls us to diesel anyways. It's, a different kind of platform. That's why you don't have, a gas truck or gas car or something. We like to be a little different. And so tackling a project like this yourself, I think there's a lot of probably pride that you have in it and the things you're able to accomplish and learn along the way that probably makes the build even more rewarding than, if you did just send it someplace and say, hey, I'll pick it up in 6 months and this is the power I want and this is all the things that I want done to it.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, the motor was built by Kill Devil Diesel, complete long block. So I sent that out, and the transmission was built by Eric McMichaels. So my original goal was a 4-100. And I just saw so many new things, like Austin Denny actually, I kind of made a friend with him, kind of just talking about stuff at Rudy's and at UCC, stuff like that. He just said, "Oh, keep a 5R in and see what you can do with it," and that's what I did. So right now it's still a 5R, but we'll see how far we go with that.
What now? I don't know the answer to this, but I'm really curious. Is when you're making big power like this, what is the kind of tipping point between when you go with the 4R100 versus the 5R? Is it reliability of parts at those higher levels? Is it quicker shifts, more durability long term, or what's the deciding factor?
I definitely think quicker shifting for sure, and also just more programmability when you're at the track. Right now, I do have really good trans tunes in there to shift better. I have second gear launch in there, lock up different spots. But if I want to change it, I have to, call, somebody, and it's a little bit more involved when it comes to time. So if I had the 4R, anyone with a 4R, the PCS, it's a lot. You could just do it right then and there. You just change it whenever you want. But after every pass, that's the thing I like about that.
Yeah, I could see how that would definitely be beneficial, probably even at the track, and just different things you can do with data logging and being able to change it a little bit quicker, if unless the tuner's there with you to be able to do it.
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah.
Now, with the build itself, what would you say would be one part of it that was just either really challenging or really difficult that maybe someone else out there might encounter, where you could give them a tip and say, hey, when I was putting on this part or removing this or deciding on, it could be any number of different things, but someone who plans to build a 6.4 like you did, what should they look out for or really pay attention to before they jump into it?
I would say probably just a small wiring things, like injector harnesses, high pressure fuel pump harnesses, stuff like that. If it looks questionable, don't even waste your time. Just buy new ones. I mean, you put a $10,000, $15,000 motor in there, and you're gonna have to take it back, open it back up after a little bit down the road, just because of a broken wire. That's these trucks, they're newer, but they're not as new anymore.
Yeah.
And all the heat and all the vibration, all those wires can start getting brittle and just break. And it's just, you're chasing a gremlin. It's just I didn't want any of that, so I went to just new little harnesses I can do. I kept the main harness, it looked good. Just the small stuff that's in the heat all the time, I just went ahead and just got all new stuff like that. At $150, it goes a long way.
Yeah, versus trying to chase something down when the truck's completely assembled and it's hard to get to stuff or just figure out where the problem is.
Yeah, and and you don't know where to start when you start having these weird little issues. Like, where do I go? So yeah. I try to get away from that and just make it as reliable as I could and do it one time the right way.
Now, with the build from start to finish, how long did it take you?
So I bought the truck Cinco de Mayo 2020, around right when it was COVID, and I tore it apart in July, which is 2 years ago now, and it was running 14 months later. The big part of waiting was the motor, because it was Kill Devil Diesel was way behind when it comes to just like the whole COVID thing.
Yeah.
They're great. I mean, those guys are great. They've built a great product, and I couldn't be happier. So I waited patiently. So it took about 5.5 months for the motor, but it was sitting here in the shop, with the cab off. So I had more things to do. I just painted the frame, and I did the traction bars. I did all that stuff myself just while I was waiting, trying to make the best of it. So.
And when did you make the first pass with it?
I actually have not made a pass on the track yet with it. It's all on the streets in Mexico somewhere. So I have a draggy, stuff like that. I haven't got slicks for it yet. It only has 500 miles on the whole truck. But I've ran a 712 on draggy on the road on 22s right now. So when I go down to 28s with the drag radios, I'm looking to be in the in the sixes for sure. I'd like to be in the 670s without any no spray, no nothing. Just kind of just dial it down a little bit. Hopefully, we'll see how it goes.
Did everything come together pretty smooth? And I wonder that because a lot of times when I'm chatting about builds, either with companies or people, they talk about the communication between the tuner, the engine builder, the transmission builder, all these different parts that factor into it. And you did a lot of it yourself. So when it all came together, was it just like fired right up, everything is good, or did you have some challenges, just getting it to run and drive how you expected it to?
So when I first got it started, I had a water pump issue. It's a brand new OEM water pump that I put in there, and it wouldn't seal up. It had like that weep hole, and sometimes it'll leak until it kind of seals up. I had a problem with that. So I had a problem with that, and I also had I forgot to put a couple block offs in the BD manifolds. There's a couple little 1/4-inch threaded holes for certain things, and I was like, "Where's that exhaust leak coming from?" And it was just something simple. And besides that, everything else was fine. I had a problem with the dual fueler, the CP3 mount on that idler. The idler for that was wherever I got it from. When they made it, it was a little skewed, so I had to take that back apart, and I had to straighten it out myself because I sent it out to get it replaced, and it came back with another bent one, another crooked one. So I ended up cutting it here and getting it real straight with a straight edge, and finally figured that out. So besides that, everything else is fine.
That's really cool. I mean, I can tell by listening to your build the amount of like attention and detail that you put into it. I think really helped it where there were no really major things that happened, or I just things I've seen in diesel before. Sometimes there's this huge rush to get something done, and then it's like, oh, I forgot to do this, or this isn't right, and you're chasing it and all that sort of stuff. So I think your patience with it really paid off. And I was thinking back to what you said at the beginning of the podcast is you got a 6.4 because you got tired of getting being gapped in your 6.7. Have you been able to reverse the roles in some of the racing in Mexico, where now you know what it's like to be on the other side and do that to a 6.7 or any other truck really if you wanted to?
Oh yeah. A lot of them can't hold a candle anymore.
Is that kind of when the
actually, a lot of guys in my area here, there's a lot of Dodge guys, and I haven't met up with them yet, but they've been fast for a long time, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think it's an underappreciated platform, to really build. Like you mentioned, the price that you paid for it. Well, the money you saved on that, you could invest in a lot of parts versus, buying something else. So I think in a way, people they're not really paying attention to them like they used to. And I think there's a tremendous potential there to really build a powerful, fast, reliable truck to, take to the track and have fun with.
Yeah, for sure. And also, this motor is the bed plate motor compared to the 6.7. I figured it was just a way stronger setup, and the more I looked into it, the more I'm like, man, this thing's got potential to make some good power. And I mean, I took my family, I have a little 5-year-old daughter and my wife, I towed them around Rudy's, UCC, Diesel Wars for 3-4 years without a truck, just flying there just to get ideas, just keep. I've been into it for a while, but I just want to build something that's competitive that I could use up there also. And street drive. I still take my wife out on dates with it. I take my daughter to get stuff from the gas station with it, just have fun with it. I don't have to trailer everywhere. It has a fuel cell in it, but I put it under the bed. So I just have a hole there in the bed just so I could fill it up. It's lightened up as much as I could with steel bed and steel body. I tried making it in a way, kind of a dual purpose truck, but it still doesn't have AC in it. It still has, one battery, 3 leaks in the back, just everything just stripped down as much as I could go. So
I think that's one of the coolest parts about diesel trucks, though, is that dual purpose that you mentioned, where you can still take it out and drive it places if you wanted to, but still make tremendous power where in other platforms that might not be true. And I think that's what got me interested in trucks. I don't remember specifically what truck it was, but somebody had a tuner on it way back in the day, and I'm like, wow, this thing is actually really quick, and you can tow with it, and there's a bed, and there's 4-wheel drive, and there's all these things where that's how I got pulled in. And then, like your build there, it's like, it's that dual purpose, I think, that you mentioned.
For sure. See, growing up, my dad was in the Fox Body Mustangs, and he never raced, but he did know the guy that built his motor and stuff like that in Miami. they drag raced, and we would go to drag races with them, and they would be pulling their race trailers with these Cummins back in the day. They're 12 valves and the newer 24 valve Cummins trucks before the newer Super Duty came out. This is like the late 90s, mid to late 90s. And those trucks were fast back then. And they would tow to Kentucky and come back, and they could still smoke a Mustang on in a dually, you know what I mean, with the trailer off of it. So it was just, since I was probably 10, 11, 12 years old, I was completely like in love with these trucks, you know, all three different brands. You know, I didn't care what it was. I just loved it. So it's been around for a long time for me.
That's a really interesting point, because a lot of times I'm sure going to events and just networking with people, you find there's definitely fans of Cummins and Duramax and Powerstroke, and it seems like they don't cross over at all. It's like they've had 15 Cummins trucks or 4 different Duramax. So you having owned a bunch of different ones, what I guess what kind of insights or perspectives would you give to somebody who, say, doesn't have a truck right now and they're not looking to buy a new one? They're looking to do kind of what you did and have that dual purpose setup. And having built a few of different ones, what are some things they should look for, if they're going to jump into a 6.4 or a 6.7 Powerstroke or a 5.9 or, a Duramax? What are some insights that you've seen through the years with that?
Well, my wife had an LMM Duramax herself, and it had a little bit of work done to it. Nice lift, wheels and tires. Like, it's just a nice go-getter, grocery getter truck. And that was a good all-around setup, because it was a 6-speed. It was really good on fuel. You're doing 80 on the highway at 1,800 RPM because it's 6-speed. You know what I mean? And the 6.7s are great trucks too. I think the 6.4, if you want to do it right, I think sometimes you might want to invest in at least valve train, lifter, stuff like that, and run good oil. The thing is maintenance on everything. If you don't change the oil, or you can't afford to change the oil, or just do things right, don't spend it on a Spartan tuner and then not be able to change the oil, kind of deal. Because that right there, that alone kills these trucks, and when it comes to Dodge, I love Dodges, especially the third gens, Common Rail 5.9s. I had 2 of them before when I was younger. And transmission issues back then, that's what the problem was. But now they've come so far when it comes to 48 REs and tuning and all that stuff for these trucks. It's like you could prevent a lot of things nowadays, so it's just whatever, pick your poison. If you want to deal with transmission, you want to deal with a valve train, you want to deal with a CP4, you just got to, take the bull by the horns, just get it done either way.
That's one of the perspectives I have, is sometimes people will message in and they're just getting into diesels and they want to build one. They go, which one's the best to build? And I'm like, it's going to cost you the same. Just decide what you're going to have to invest in first is really, what's going to change with it. But, the 6.4 is, it's like I said earlier, I just think it's a bargain, and just the potential that's out there. You mentioned Kill Devil Diesel. We've had them on the podcast, and other companies, is their innovation and their technology. It's applying to these older trucks just like it does the new ones, and the kind of leap forward. You mentioned it with the 48 REs, and there's tons of other parts. Is you can get really good stuff now from a lot of different companies to build whatever platform it is that you like or want to do. And that's what's so exciting, I think, about this time, in the diesel industry, is it's not just limited like it used to be. If you wanted to go fast, you had to get a 5.9. And the Duramax has changed that. And, the 6.4 is what they've done, 6 liters now, the kind of power, they're making at UCC. It's really exciting.
Yeah. Only thing I would tell a new guy or girl getting into it is, just get a new enough truck that you could tune up or down. You could change power levels easy. When I had the 12 valve Super Duty, that was a P pump with a 47 RE in it. I never finished it though. I had to sell it because I had life happen. So I had to take care of priorities, and then I came back around, circled back, and built this. But I felt like that truck was already behind the ball because it was not adjustable as these newer trucks are. So I was like, it's kind of like I should have put a common rail in there, So whatever you get, just make sure it's newer, and you could go up and down with power levels, and it'll be a lot more enjoyable.
Yeah, and fit that dual purpose you mentioned, where it's so easy to just change tunes and dial it back. Versus, yeah, you could do it on a 12 valve, but it's just a little bit more involved.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
Now, for people that are listening, they're like, hey, I want to check out, what John's doing. Maybe they have questions for you. They want to ask you something I didn't think to ask. Where can they, find you on social media? Instagram, or if you're thinking about doing a YouTube or anything like that, what's a place to be able to find you?
Well, I'm on Facebook also. I'm on, all those Strictly Race Diesel pages, and the 08 to 010 6.4 Powerstroke page. My name's John Phillips. On Instagram, it's J-J, so JDASHJ. And then I just so happened last week to start another Instagram for this build, just to have everything in there in depth, because I didn't really think if you even put the pictures and the ongoing process of this truck on my personal Instagram. So Instagram for this is Junker64, so Junker 6.4, and it's all on there. If you want to ask the questions or whatever, or if you need something simple that needs to be thought of with a second pair of eyes, we can do that too.
I think that kind of network building is really important. I'm sure you've seen it too, going to shows and meeting different people, just being able to connect with other people that have either done the build that you want to do, or they've been to a certain level with it where you can, ask them questions and be able to say, hey, what did you do with this? Why did you choose this turbo? Why did you pick this injection pump system? Or, these injectors. It's one of the really cool things, I think about diesel. And I did want to ask you that is, through this process, we're able to connect with, I don't want to say mentors, but like, people who did this before or kind of blazed the trail, where they were really helpful, in your build, that, maybe made it easier, made it, less expensive because you chose the right part the first time, or the right set of injectors, or the right, stall speed on the converter.
Actually, the Diesel podcast has really helped me a lot when it comes to Mike Corsili and Charlie Keeter, and a couple of those guys. They kind of went through the trials and tribulations when it comes to building things a few times. And I know Tyler Dommel, he built the 6.4, and I mean this truck is pretty much based off of his truck, Mike Corsili's truck. The turbo choice, the injector choice, the dual pumps. Just things that work, and Austin and Denny also helped me out also with the transmission, just kind of talking me into certain things, just to be like, hey, you could do it this way and see if it works, before you spend so much money on a 4R 100, I'm just a working man, and everyone usually is, that's why I work on my own stuff. You can't just send your truck out and be like, oh, here, make it run sevens, or make it run sixes. It's just a process, you have to enjoy the process as you go. So,
and when do you think you're going to make the first pass with it, or is there an event that you're looking to go to, later in the summer and race it, where people can, mark it down, definitely check it out, because they, heard your podcast, they love 6.4s, and they want to see what you do.
I was aiming for Rudy's, the new location, in September, but I don't know if that's going to happen. I just got the truck back. The only thing I didn't do on this truck, the only thing was the cage. I just put an 850 cage in it, chromoly. Just got all that done. Put a Kirky seat in there. Might do a second Kirky seat, just so I could take somebody else along. But I just finished all that up. So just getting it kind of legal to tech for that stuff, and it just took a little bit longer than I expected, and it's out of my hands, But so either end of the Rudy's closer or Rudy's opener, you know what I mean? So that's my goal. I went to Diesel Wars a few weeks ago, but we just went to watch, just kind of just see what's going on. It's almost like this year was kind of scattered around. A couple events got canceled. Fuel prices are ridiculous.
Yeah.
A lot of people probably don't want to tow a trailer that's so far. It costs you double the money, so I understand that. So hopefully all this stuff calms down here soon, and we could just get out there and do some passes. I have a local track here in Immokalee, Florida. That's about 30 minutes away, so I'll probably be testing there and see what it does and get it dialed in. but it's pretty close right now.
Yeah, it was a really cool build to hear about, and I definitely appreciate the patience from the time that you built it, and I think about all the issues that have been out there with getting parts and delays, and companies got really far behind because a lot of people were you couldn't find a new truck, so you're like, I'm going to build my older one, or I'm going to upgrade it, and so I think building it through this time is really cool to see how you did it, and the time that you took with it, and the questions that you asked, and doing nearly all of it yourself is really inspiring. So I hope somebody out there that's thinking about doing this, you built it during the pandemic and all this going on now, so you show just with some patience and doing some homework, you can make a really solid build, not have a lot of problems when you get it all together, just a few little things here and there, and you're ready to go hit the track.
Yep, for sure. Funny thing is also, when it comes to manufacturing, with all the everything going on, there's a lot of weird manufacturing issues. I have 100 over injectors on this, so when they changed the tips, they told me that my injectors were all bad, and I'm like, they're all bad? They were just fine before, and come to find out that the tips were faulty. All 8 of them were bad. So I pretty much bought new injectors, and they put those nozzles on those injectors, and it still didn't work. So it actually ended up being the nozzles. And the RCD, River City Diesel, they're the ones that did my injectors, and they were, congenial enough to tell me it wasn't the injector. So we're gonna refund you back the money for the injectors and just keep yours, and we're gonna change the tips on there. So they could have not told me that. They could have been like, oh, just the injectors. But there's a lot of good guys in this industry. A lot of people that are loyal, and they're just trustworthy. They shoot you straight. So that's a good thing about it. That's what I love about this community. Everyone helps out a lot more than you would think. So
yeah, and when they keep a customer for life, because you think how easy it would have been to not even say anything, but they did the right thing, and I'm sure this isn't going to be the last truck you build, and you're going to remember. Yeah. Well, I appreciate you reaching out to us, John, and sharing your build with us, and scheduling the time to chat with me. Had a great time. I loved hearing about it, and keep us updated in the future. Let us know how it does, or if you change something up, or you do another build in the future. Maybe it's something completely different platform. Let us know. We like to see guests that we have on, kind of how they progress with the trucks, and then also with their passion for diesel performance. So keep us updated.
Sounds good. Thank you for having me.
Don't forget, diesel fans, make sure and head on over to fluidampner.com. Check out the products that they have. We're going to be chatting with them here shortly to talk about what their products do for, a stock truck, something you're towing with, race truck, ways that it can unleash horsepower and torque, and also protect the engine. And it's something that's really cool because you never have to send it in to get rebuilt or do anything like that. It basically just self-tunes to the engine after you install it. So make sure and check them out. Also want to give a shout out to some of our Patreon supporters. You guys help us a lot with being able to deliver, a better podcast to you, better audio, a lot of things that we're working on. Texas Diesel Supply, Wrights Diesel Services, Kaleb, Tyler Loewen from 23 Diesel. We appreciate your support. All of our Patreons, all of our subscribers on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. I love hearing from you guys. I love seeing your questions on our Discord channel. You guys have awesome suggestions for episodes, sharing your truck builds, keeping us inspired to cover new topics or talk about things that you guys are working on out there. So I just wanted to thank you guys for that, and until next time, keep the shiny side up.